Welcome to another edition of the Giants Top 100 Players presented by Bud Light. I'm Bob Papa. As you know, the Giants are revealing the top 100 players in the history of the franchise. Let's explain and recap how we got to this point. There was a 13-member independent blue ribbon panel that looked over 5,000 names that played for the New York Giants in their previous 99 years, and we have come to the list of the top 100. One of the members that was voting on that list is former beat reporter, NFL reporter, and Hall of Fame voter Gary Myers. And Gary, it was a fun process to go through, wasn't it?
I tell you what, when you look back at all the great players who've played for this franchise, narrowing it down to the top 100, it was fun, but it was difficult.
Well, we have two guys on the set with us here today to talk about numbers 51 through 60, and they both are on this list. Number 51, Otis Anderson, and number 56, Mark Collins. And Otis, obviously winning a Super Bowl MVP for the Giants. What did it mean to you when you found out that you had made this top 100?
Well, I was really surprised, being that my history didn't start with the Giants, but most of the things I've accomplished has been with the Giants. Super Bowl, comeback player of the year, things of that nature. So I was excited, but yet very happy that the Giants said, and always have said, once a Giant, always a Giant, and I was part of the family.
Mark, I got to break the news to you in person when you first heard that you were one of the top 100 players. What was your first thought?
It meant a lot. It still means a lot. You're talking about the fourth oldest football organization, in the history of America. So it means a lot, and I'm still in awe of being on this list.
Collins takes it at the 2. The 15, he's got room. Collins to the 30. Collins at the 40. Collins may go all the way. They're chasing him from behind the 30. Collins to the 20. Touchdown! The rookie from Fullerton State, Mark Collins, returns the opening kickoff 98 yards.
Gary, this is a pretty amazing list that we have, 51 through 60, and there's such great names. Obviously O.J. Anderson and Mark Collins and Tom Landry, who a lot of people think of with the hat, and they think of him as the great head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, but was an incredible defensive back for the New York Giants.
Yeah, he was an all-pro player, and what people may not remember, but he was a player coach, and he was a defensive coordinator. So he's not only a key member of the defense on the field, but then he's coordinating the defense at the same time. And can you imagine? Mark, you played the same position as Tom, to do something like that.
That would be tough. Because you're playing with the guy, right? He's right next to you, and he's calling plays, the defense changes on the field, and then you go to the sideline and you're making adjustments with your guy next to us. It'd be kind of a difficult thing to do, but back in those days they could do it. I don't think it can happen that way now.
No, it wouldn't go well now because it's just too much to go in. Analytics is too big for it to happen.
Mark was drafted in 1986. Otis, you were traded from the St. Louis Cardinals to the Giants in 1986 as the Giants won their first ever Super Bowl. You had already been a great player in the league. When the Giants drafted this guy, what were some of the things that he brought to the table that helped you guys win a championship?
Well, Mark was tough. He was smart. You could put him in any situation and he would adjust to it. Being a rookie, you don't want to give him a lot to do, but he showed Belichick that he can do a lot of things, and that's why he played. And look at him. He was awesome for us.
It is intercepted. Clear pass to the 40, to the 30. Here comes Collins to the 10. He will score.
Conversely, you're a rookie coming into the league.
Yeah.
Joe Morris carried a lot of the water with the 1986 Giants and had record-setting years in 85 and 86. This guy comes in. What was the first thing that came to mind when you found out, wow, we just got Anderson?
I tell you, Bob, O.J., when he came to us, he brought not just stability, but the patience. Because you're talking about a guy, all the things he did in St. Louis. He's an established player in St. Louis. Then comes over here to sit behind Joe Morris and wait patiently to get to where he needed to be. Never complained, 100% professional, did the things that the Giant way, and that's why he's on this list. He's a great friend, and that's why he's doing what he's doing, and it's perfect.
I remember being traded midway during the season. I went from 1-5 to 5-1, which was a big blessing. And just seeing the Giants go out to Pasadena and play Denver Broncos and having an opportunity by Parcells toward the end of the game. He called me up. He said, listen, kid, he said, in case you never get here again, I'm going to give you a chance to score. So he called Joe Morris out of the game, sent me in, and called a play for me to get into the end zone. It was incredible.
There goes Otis Anderson. He's got a touchdown. There's Parcells' payback to OJ for being patient.
You're talking about patience, sitting and waiting a couple of years, but to do what he did like in 1989, a few years later, and then Super Bowl MVP the year after that, it's amazing.
And look at Otis Anderson throw the uppercut.
He looked like Muhammad Ali winding up, hopped in with that stiff arm.
Just having an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl, it was a dream. It was something I said coming out of Miami as a rookie. I said if I played in the Super Bowl in the state of Florida, I'd win MVP. Well, 12 years later, it did happen.
Giants have won Super Bowl 25.
I have a question for you. So in 1979, the Giants drafted Phil, 7th. The Cardinals took you one spot later. Do you have any indication that the Giants, if they hadn't taken Sims, or maybe they were going to take you ahead of Sims?
Well, I don't know if I told you, MC, the story. I might have mentioned it to Bob one time we sat around. But I had dinner on a Friday night with Ray Perkins. He flew into Miami, took me out to dinner, and said, we're drafting 7th in the first round, and we're picking you. We're having a steak dinner. He goes to the maitre d' and asks for an easel. They bring him an easel. He starts designing plays for me, saying this is what we're going to do with you, when we draft you. So I'm thinking that I'm going to be drafted by the Giants, right? So I'm sitting, like you say, 3 days later, I'm in my living room, just like we're sitting here, and they say on the clock it's the New York Giants, and I'm sitting there with the Giant head under the table, and all of a sudden they say, Phil Sims. And I just kind of like, whoa. Next on the clock, Cardinals. And they said the Cardinals said with the 8th pick in the first round out of the University of Miami, Otis O.G. Anderson. So I threw the Giant hat to my friend. He had a baseball Cardinal hat, which was the same as the football Cardinal. I got the hat, put it on, jumped up and said, I always want to be a Cardinal. So you never know where you're going to go. So it was one of those situations that 7 years later it worked out for me. But I remember before I got traded, we played each other, like you said. Jim Burke and I attended Miami. So as soon as the game was over, he comes up to me, he said, how would you like to be a Giant? And I said to Jim Burke, I call him Virgil, I said, there's no way that the Cardinals would trade me to the Giants, same division, and we got to play one more time. So I know all of their secrets. So there's no way they're going to do that. That doesn't make sense. Plus, I'm franchised. I'm the #1 running back in Cardinals history. How do you trade me and you trade me to the Giants? Well,
Rest is history.
Rest is history, yeah.
All right, I want to bring up a name that's part of this list. He comes in at number 60, Jumbo Elliott.
Well, listen, this Jumbo, you can talk more about it because you're on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
But when Jumbo came to us, I've never seen a bigger man walk through that door than him. This dude was big. I mean, he's big, agile, and he has a mean streak in him if you get to it. You just got to know how to get to it. I didn't want to get to it. But Bill Parcells knew exactly what it took to get him motivated to do what he's got to do.
Jumbo, I don't want you to get nervous because that's not Michigan State down there. That's Philadelphia, okay, kid? Not Michigan State. I know if it was, you'd be real nervous.
Well, I tell you what, Jumbo and William Roberts, this is the NFC Championship game out in San Francisco. Only a few people know this story. I think Haas knows it as well. So we're in the huddle, and we had just run a play, and it was a play that's supposed to be in between the tackles, and the 49er defense had pinched in, and Jumbo and William got together, and they stopped having this plan. So Bill called a play again. So I'm in the huddle, and I'm facing William and Jumbo, and they go like, OJ, bounce it outside. They slant in. I said, you sure? They said, oh, no, they did it. I said, William, yeah, Jumbo, yeah, bounce it outside. So they call the same play. I bounce it outside. They slant outside. William and Jumbo go down, hit no one. I lose 3 or 4 yards. Parcells called timeout. He said, Haas, give me 24. So I go over there, and he looked at me, he said, what are you doing? I said, Jumbo, you listen to a dumb rookie? How long you been in the league? I said, 12 years. Well, I tell you what, listen to him again, don't get on the bus going back to that was Parcells. And I never listened to Jumbo again after that.
Speaking of left tackles, you didn't play with him, but David Diehl is on this list as well. Here's the guy that got drafted in the 5th round, and the guy winds up becoming a starting left tackle for 2 Super Bowl teams. As you watched him over the years and watched the new era of Giants go on to have the success that you guys had, what jumps out about him as a player?
He was just tough. Again, he played with a chip on his shoulder, and he went out and he had a mission. Just watching him and watching what the Giants tackles have done in the past, he fit in that mold because he was aggressive and he took no stuff. Yeah. And he just did his job.
I saw consistency.
Yep.
It was always there, no matter what. Tough, hard-nosed player, knew his assignments.
He was a versatile guy, too.
Yeah, he could be,
He played every player but center.
So, yeah. But I love his toughness and his durability and his stability, and every day he was there.
Another name that's on this list that obviously was a key for the Giants winning in 2011, Victor Cruz. Local kid, doesn't even get drafted. When I say Victor Cruz, what comes to mind to you?
Yeah, he had those 3 touchdowns in the preseason game against the Jets.
What a one-handed catch by Victor Cruz, and he's going to score! 64 yards!
Hell of a play by that kid.
The kid from Paterson, New Jersey, a free agent out of UMass, scores in East Rutherford with a brilliant one-hand catch.
And now the Giants go down to Philadelphia, and they need a wide receiver.
That's what he had.
And then he has that big game, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Manning back to throw, zips one left, caught by Cruz, runs out of a tackle to the 40, up to midfield, makes another man miss to the 45, down the left sideline. There goes Cruz, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Giants, 74 yards. And he does the salsa.
The salsa dance is fantastic, a true Giant, hard competitor as well. But he came in and did what he had to do, undrafted, had a great career with the Giants. And he knew exactly what to do when he got in the game. And he made plays up and down the field.
And late in the season, the game against the Jets, he had the 99-yarder that won the game and got the Giants into the playoffs, and they went on and won their 4th Super Bowl that year. So
it's amazing, when your opportunity comes, is what you do with it. And he took full advantage of it. And I think that's awesome. And that's a lesson. You never know when your time is going to come, because we all have an expiration date when you get in this league. You're on the clock. And here's a guy, Victor Cruz, who made the best of it.
But see, I know Victor a whole different way than you guys know. I watched Victor play Little League football.
Really?
He played in Paterson. Yeah. His coach was one of my frat brothers, Benji Wibberly. And Victor, at a young age, always wanted to play for the Giants because he was a local boy. And he didn't want to go too far from home, which he didn't go too far from home for college. And to be able to fulfill your dream, to play for the team that you follow when you was a little kid, just to have that dream come true. We all dream of playing professional football, and you just don't know where and when that's going to happen. But he was one of the players, again, one of those Giant players that earned the respect of everybody by working hard. And as you said, he created that salsa dance, and everybody went wild for it, and that's incredible, and that's what he did.
That's Victor Cruz, and he spins off and into the end zone for a touchdown. Wow! He just kept his feet churning.
Okay, number 1 salsa dance in the league.
All right, so when you're playing for the Cardinals and you're playing against the Giants, in your first couple of years, the Giants weren't very good, right? And my remembrances as a kid for the Giants was basically their offense was number 53 on our list, because I could still hear the PA announcer in Giant Stadium, Bob Shepard, saying, 4th and 30, Jennings to punt.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Bob.
Let's talk about Dave Jennings, because the most prolific punter in Giants history, an incredible athlete. but a guy that was a weapon.
Yeah, he was a game changer. And Jennings being able to change the field direction and gave you that advantage. He was incredible. I mean, his punting, his inside to 20 was just incredible. If you needed to pin the team down and give your defense a chance, they put it right there.
Yeah, whenever, especially on defense, whenever you have a punter like Dave Jennings or Sean Landetta that can give you a 50-yard swing, 55-yard swing, for a defensive guy, we love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Do you know what? You guys might not be aware of this. One of the biggest impacts that Dave had on the NFL. Now, you're right. He was amazing inside the 20.
Sure.
But when he would look at the punting averages, there was no such thing as net punts in those days. So guys would kick it from midfield, kick it into the end zone, you get credit for a 50-yard punt, and they'd be at the top of the list. Dave would go inside the 20, and Bob, I'm sure you know this. He'd go inside the 20, and he'd have a 37-yard punt, but he'd pin the team at the 13-yard line. So Dave started this campaign writing to the league that there has to be a differentiation between gross punting and the net yardage, because the net yardage obviously was more important. If you're pinning a team inside the 10, it's more important than kicking it 50 yards into the end zone and then start their 20. So it's because of Dave Jennings that now you see the punters listed both ways with gross and net.
How about Steve Owen, who's on this list? 54th overall. This is a guy that played for the Giants from the very beginning, 1926. He's a Hall of Famer. This is in an era where guys played multiple ways.
Yeah.
They were on offense and defense, but one of the great Giants and one of the great players in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, he was a key part of the Giants' first championship team. I think it was 27.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Steve was a great player, and then obviously went on to a great coaching career with the Giants.
Another one is Ward Cuff, who helped the Giants win a championship in the 30s. Again, another player that extremely versatile. Wore number 14, and Wellington Mara had said at the time that no one would ever wear 14 again, and when the Giants acquired Y.A. Tittle, they dusted 14 off and they gave it to him.
And now nobody's worn 14 since Y.A., right?
Correct.
So I guess Ward Cuff and his family can take pride in the fact that his number is retired by the Giants. And he also played on a championship team, so he was a great player.
And Ray Wietecha also makes this list, and Ray finishes at number 58 on the list, but it kind of speaks to the depth of the history.
Yeah.
When you think about, all pros, Pro Bowls, Hall of Fame players that played in the early years of the NFL that are recognized by the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, Ray was one of those guys, played in that 58 championship game, and went on to have a really good coaching career as well. If I remember correctly, he went with Lombardi to Green Bay and was the offensive line coach on the first two Super Bowl teams.
Guys, obviously, you know what it's like when Giants Stadium would rock. What did you feel in those big game moments as you came through that tunnel or as you guys scored a touchdown or whatever? Because it had a different sound, didn't it?
It did. When you talk about sense of pride and feel like you're doing it for a worthwhile cause, is when you have all of those fans just screaming and yelling, and when you talk about adrenaline and just really building up and just running wild inside of your body, all you want to do is make sure everybody's pleased, and that when they come out of the game, we have done what we're supposed to do, which is win.
What about for you, Mark?
I think the best part, especially when we play at home, is that 7 seconds of introductions when you come out of the tunnel. You run out there and the crowd is with you. You feel it. It takes you to another level. It's huge. And, the old Giant Stadium was fantastic. I played for 3 other teams. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like a Giant crowd.
Yeah.
Nothing. So it's electrifying. I remember myself, I won't speak for you, Otis, I would go tailgate with the fans after the game.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
We'd go tailgate and have a couple of cold ones and we just kick it, right? Now the league has changed, obviously, since you can't do that now, but football's the best thing going right now, number one. Number two, there's nothing like the New York Giants fans. I still get fan mail.
Sure.
And I've been retired for I don't know, 25, 27 years, something like that. Still get tons of Giant fan mail. I read them and sign and send it back. They know their history. Yeah. They know their players. They know their announcers. They know everything about you. And I think it's fantastic.
Speaking of history, once a Giant, always a Giant. Obviously, both of you played when Mr. Wellington Mara was very involved. Your remembrances of him and maybe a story that comes to mind when you think of Mr. Mara.
Well, I know when I first got here, he greeted me and said, welcome. I used to watch him, and he would just circle the field and stand and watch practice. And after every game, win, lose, or draw, he would come through the locker room and shake everybody's hand. To me, that was something that I didn't know even exist in management, that an owner could be that close to the players, because you always seemed like they were isolated away from the players because, you're a business.
It was a business, but for the Maras, it's always been a family
Yeah,
business.
that's what I mean, yeah.
And you guys were part of
the part of the family. And that's what he gave us. He gave us that sense of family and pride that when you put on that Giant jersey, you knew what you were playing for. You were playing for that family, the Mara family that made football what it was, and that Giants.
I remember, the same as Otis said, and I'm a rookie in '86, and I just marveled how he would come up with that fisherman's hat, and he'd walk around the practice facility while we practiced. And after every game, he would shake your hand.
Yeah.
Good game, Mark.
And he knew your name.
Yeah, he knew you. That was classic to me.
Well, myself.
As a member of the media, I first started covering the Giants. I was 24 years old. And I was a Giant fan as a kid. Now, as soon as you start doing what I did for a living, you're not a fan anymore. You can't be. But meeting him for the first time was really an honor. And the thing that always impressed me about him is how open and honest he was. He didn't meet with the media on a regular basis, but when you wanted to talk to him and you had something important to ask, he always made time. And his words carried such impact because he didn't speak every day, or he didn't have a twice-a-week radio show like Jerry Jones does in Dallas. So when you talked to Wellington Mara, you knew what he had to say. The message he was going to give you was going to be really meaningful. And he just, no matter what you wrote, whether it was negative or positive, he treated you the same way. And that was with respect. And that's all you can ever ask for.
Yeah, one of the coolest things when I was a student at Fordham, doing the basketball games, Mr. Mara would come with his son John, and the Rose Hill gym is this old gym, and the radio position was up there. And Fordham would have a chair for him, and John would sit up there, and he would always come on as the halftime guest, because it was big for us as college kids. And Mr. Mara, being a Fordham alum, would always come on. And then, years later, as I started doing the pre and the post game, I always remember him leaning against the wall that led to the trainer's room during the media avail at lunchtime, and he would just observe.
You're right.
He'd lean on that wall, and he would just observe to see how the players were interacting with the media, if there were any firestorms going on, to see how guys were handling stuff, and then he wouldn't say much, and then he'd slide on off, and okay, business as usual. Guys, this has been a lot of fun, talking about not only this list, having both of you as a part of this list, and I guess with this list and the top 100 and the 100th season of the New York Giants, once a Giant, always a Giant must mean even more to you right now.
Oh, it does. It does. Well, I want to be remembered by how I played.
Yes.
And winning championships. On my car, you know what it says on the back of my license plates? 2-time champ, New York Giants.
Nice.
There we go.
Oh, I'm in Kansas. I bleed Giant blue.
Yeah.
That's me. So everything after that is icing on the cake, really. And this is, to me, the sweetest icing I've ever received so far, and I'm going to embellish it.
Well, like you, man, I have seen my career life just take a total 360-degree turn based on where I started and where I end up at. The Giants have embraced me, the fans, and the whole organization have brought me into that family. Probably what the best thing ever happened to me is having an opportunity to be a part of Giant history, be a part of the Giants family. And you feel, once a Giant, always a Giant, is such a true feeling.
Guys, it was fun taking a trip down memory lane, looking at numbers 51 through 60, and it's a special year in the history of the Giants. So for Gary Myers and our entire crew, I'm Bob Papa. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Giants, the Top 100 Players, presented by Bud Light.